Let's head into the paper review this morning. Now see what the headlines are saying across Nigeria. And I have with me in the studio the communication and leadership strategy, Dr. John, as well as political technocrat, Dr. Dayo Kayode. It's nice to have you both in the studio.
It's a pleasure.
Great. Now let's begin with the News Direct. That's where we start from this morning. News Direct says banks shun graduates, place 44% staff on contract. That's what you see on the Nigeria News Direct this morning. From there, let's go to the Blueprint, and it focuses on the 59th independence anniversary of Nigeria. And it says God's promises will be fulfilled. That's Vice President Yemi Osinbajo saying that. There's still hope. Go on, Sanwo-Olu reported to be saying that we have reasons to celebrate. And Nigeria doing well under Buhari. Akeredolu, as the governor of Ondo State, saying that. Diaspora Nigerians urge patriotism and reflect on successes, failures, forge ahead. Ikmeazu, that's the governor of Abia State, saying that. Let's move now to the Daily Times. The Daily Times now says Osinbajo must not be disgraced out of office. Bakari is saying that he invites Nigerians to National Security Governance Summit to reset Nigeria next Sunday. And God has promised new, peaceful, prosperous Nigeria, says Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. Now, from the Daily Times, let's go to the Daily Trust now. Daily Trust says governors spend billions on sponsoring pilgrims. And on the front page there, there's a data breakdown that you can't see on the screen right now, but it gives a breakdown of some of the spendings from some of the states on Hajj and even pilgrimage to Israel. Now, we'll be talking about this shortly from monies being spent, because it runs into billions in some instances for some states. Okay, let's move now to The Guardian. The Guardian says cashless policy takes off with 284 trillion naira e-payment deals, and bank customers face more than 10 charges and taxes. Payment service firms, banks' earnings to increase. And Nigeria, others need $152 billion investment in 10 years. Okay. From The Guardian, let's go to The Vanguard now. And it dwells on the Vice President's ordeal, as it is put here. Don't humiliate Osinbajo out of office, Bakari is saying this. There's disquiet in presidency. Clark, Adebanjo, Nwodo, Bitrus are all saying this. Why we visited Osinbajo, that's the Christian Association of Nigeria, is saying this. Right from The Vanguard, let's go to the Daily Sun. The Daily Sun, which is the last paper we're looking at right now, says Christian Association of Nigeria makes U-turn on Osinbajo, says he never exonerated Vice President. That's what you see on the Daily Sun right there. Okay, gentlemen, let's come to the issue that I'd like us to talk about now on the front page of the Daily Trust. Now, he says governors spend billions on sponsoring pilgrims. That's what the headline there is. And it's quite interesting how the figures are broken down there. For a state like Sokoto, for instance, from this record here, 100 million naira has been spent. Kebbi State, 300 million naira and even over. Zamfara State, 222 million naira and above. Ogun State, for instance, 135 million naira and above. Plateau State has spent about 2 billion naira and over, and it's a breakdown comprising of Christian and Muslim pilgrimage 2018 and 2019. And the list goes on and on and on. I'd like to start with you, Dr. Kayode, here. A lot of money, if you really look at the figures, for an average Hajj, an individual can spend up to about 1.5 million. That's the fare and what it would take for someone going for Hajj. And then for pilgrimage to Jerusalem or to Israel can cost about 750,000 naira for one person. What do you make of all of this monies going into pilgrimage every year?
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Sometimes when I look at the situation of our religious activities in this country, it pains me to the marrow.
Why is that?
To the extent that, despite that on a particular street, you have nothing less than 15 different churches. Even sometimes you have branches of the same church going to about 15 on a particular street. Still, we have a lot of vices eating deep into our marrow. We have myriads of problems that we cannot solve. And what has that brought out?
But is the church church or religion?
Listen, that's where I'm going.
Okay.
That's where I'm going.
All right.
What that has taught me, especially from my Bible, is to tell you that we are more of religious people than being spiritual.
Or than being godly.
Not godly now.
All right.
There's a difference between spirituality and religiosity,
right.
of which I wouldn't want to go into details
certainly.
now. Now, the issue is this. All this money that we are spending on religions, pilgrimage and all that, why can't we use it to develop our moribund industries? I was talking to somebody from Ibadan yesterday night. I said, look at that Ibadan alone. Look at some industries that were giving out employment to thousands of people. We have Leyland. We have this Exile battery. We have this Atelele cashew processing factory. Then look at some of the institutions that are to research. NISA, NIHOT, more plantation, and all that. The money that we are supposed to put, that we are not putting in. Rather, all those industries, buildings, we are now turning it to religious centers.
All right, all right. Well, so much going on. But Doctor, let me bring it to you now. The point there is, a lot of persons will say there's nothing wrong in sponsoring Nigerians to pilgrimage, either to Israel or to Hajj, as so long as people are meant to imbibe some values and draw their attention to godliness and living well in the country. How would you justify the attendance of pilgrimage over the years on the moral standings that we have in our society?
Yes, both in philosophy and economics, you discover that the essence of investment is return. All over the world today, we have government sending their citizens abroad to study, because at the end of the day, they believe that when such people come back, they are going to add value to their community or their country. But I was in a hall some years back in Ondo State, people preparing to go to Jerusalem. And I saw my in-law there. And I was wondering to myself that, what value will this man bring back to the community? You know, because I know him very well, I am almost certain that it's not going to bring back any value to the country. Because I know him. Because I know him.
What if he's touched by God on his way there? Isn't that the idea?
If the sermons we preach in Nigeria, here and there, does not touch everyone, no sermon will touch anyone in Israel. This is the headquarters
you
of
think
sermon.
So?
Yes. Sermon, if you want to hear it, this is the headquarters. But what I'm saying in essence is this. Our problem revolves around one thing, and that is second term. This thing that you are saying now, people in government today, they know they are not supposed to do it. The Holy Book has made it very clear as to the condition to going on a pilgrimage. There's no assistance.
That's even the Holy Quran.
Yes.
The Bible doesn't make...
Yes.
The Bible doesn't
even the Holy Quran now,
mention anything about pilgrimage.
Does not talk about the assistance of government. He said, if you have the capacity.
When you have the capacity.
The wherewithal.
Now, all of us in government, everybody that has been in government, in and out of president, they know. But because they are concerned about the next election, it is lack of courage of, if I come today and I stop whatever allocation that is not supposed to go to the Christian Welfare Board or the Muslim Welfare Board, or I force the welfare boards of both the Christian and the Muslim to use it to attend to people. If you get to government house today, go and see letters of Christians who want to do minor surgeries. That they cannot do. But if the monies that are being allocated for all these trips here and there, if they reside in the Christian Welfare Board, you know that you have access to this. You can't be chasing the government all about. But you can go to the Christian Welfare Board and lay your surgery, put it and say, this is what I need money for. People are suffering. So the essence of the Christian Welfare Board is not to send Christians to Jerusalem. The essence of the Muslim Welfare Board is not to begin to look for money and be sending people abroad. It is things that government may not be, that we go through protocols in the ministry. If you go there, you get it done easily.
Dr. Kayode, even the Holy Quran's prescription that at least once in your lifetime you should be able to, pay a visit to Hajj, which is one of the pillars of Islam. There are people who have been to Hajj 10 times.
And they are still going.
Or even more than that. There are people who have gone to Jerusalem more than 10 times and over. What do you make of that in that regard?
The question I will now put to you as regards that question is this. What did God say in the Holy Quran and the Holy Bible? He said, everything I have created them for my own enjoyment and for them to worship me, both in truth and in spirit. Now the question is, going to Jerusalem or going to Mecca for Hajj, does that worship God in spirit and in truth? Okay, that is one. Two, the Holy Quran also said you should go to Mecca once in your lifetime, if only
At least.
you can afford it, not at the expense of your fellow human being.
Right.
Because if you go at the expense of your fellow human being who is not having any value in you going to that place, you are infringing on his economic rights.
All right. So something has to be done when it comes to reorganizing how government
Only that,
invests in
a
all of
quick
this.
one, Mike. Some people will even say, perhaps because all these things will still go back to the issue of corruption. Some people will say, okay, at the end of the day, even if they don't use the money to send people to Mecca, some people will still steal it. That's
So let me
another
Google
thing.
use it to go to Mecca.
As Nigerians, we say, let's kukuma use
Let me
it.
Google take my own. Let me take my own.
All right. We have to leave you here now. Thank you very much, Dr. John, for your insight into this. Thank you very much. And Dr. Dayo Kayode, thank you very much for your insight as well.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Let's head to the headlines now, see what the papers are saying in Nigeria. And I have with me leadership and communication strategist, Dr. John, and another political technocrat, Dr. Dayo Kayode. Gentlemen, good morning, and thank God it's Monday.
Javio, good morning, Mike.
Nice to see you both.
Thank
good to
God
be
it's
here.
Monday.
All right. Thank God it's Monday. Okay, let's begin with the news direct now. That's where we start from this morning. And it says, banks shun graduates, place 44% staff on contract. Okay, banks shun graduates. Okay, that's what the news direct is saying. From there, let's go to the blueprint. The blueprint is talking about independence, and he said 59th independence anniversary, God's promises will be fulfilled. So, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo is saying that. He said that at the service, at the interdenominational service. There's still hope. Go on, Sanwo-Olu are saying this, and we have reasons to celebrate. Okay, that's one line that always comes up at this time, and a lot of Nigerians certainly get to debate it. Nigeria doing well under Buhari. Akeredolu, the governor of Ondo State, is saying this. Diaspora Nigerians urge patriotism, reflect on successes, failures, forge ahead. Ikpeazu, the governor of Abia State, is saying that. Well, I guess I'll have time to discuss this with my guest on the show this morning. Daily Times is where we go next. Daily Times says Osinbajo must not be disgraced out of office. Bakari is quoted as saying this, and invites Nigerians to national security governance audit to reset Nigeria next Sunday. And God has promised a new, peaceful, prosperous Nigeria, says the Vice President. The Vice President said that. All right, Daily Trust is where we go next now. Daily Trust. It says governors spend billions on sponsoring pilgrims. Governors spend billions on sponsoring pilgrims. That's the Daily Trust. Okay, from there let's go to The Guardian now. The Guardian says cashless policy takes off with 284 trillion naira e-payment deals, and bank customers face more than 10 charges and taxes. Payment service firms, banks' earnings to increase. In Nigeria, others need $152 billion investment in 10 years. Okay, that's The Guardian. To the Daily Sun now. Daily Sun says, Khan makes U-turn on Osinbajo, says he never exonerated the vice president. That's the Christian Association of Nigeria there. Okay. Let's go to the Vanguard now. Vanguard will be the last paper this morning, and he says on the vice president's ordeal, don't humiliate Osinbajo out of office. Bakari is quoted as saying this. There's disquiet in presidency. Clark, Adebanjo, Nwodo, Bitrus, all saying different things. Why we visited Osinbajo, that's the Christian Association of Nigeria, is saying this. Okay, that's from the Vanguard. All right, gentlemen, I'd like us to talk about the story on the front page of the Blueprint. The Blueprint newspaper talks about the 59th independence anniversary. We just have less than 24 hours away, and the Blueprint is saying God's promises will be fulfilled according to Vice President Osinbajo, where what he said, the message he sent to Nigerians at the interdenominational service. But one line that always recurs, that always comes up, is that there's a lot to, or there's a reason to celebrate. Whether there's a reason to celebrate or not, we're still together as one indivisible country. Dr.
Mm.
Let me start with you on this.
We always have a reason to celebrate, you understand. But now, I think this is not the best of times for Nigeria in the real sense of it. And according to what the Vice President said, if you allow me to pick it from that angle, that God's promises will be fulfilled. I think in Christendom, there's the concept of God giving and the concept of men receiving. We need courage to receive, and that's what we lack in this country. Even if God made a promise, if man lacks the courage to receive, then the promise at the end of the day is not God that changed, it's man that didn't position himself to receive it. So we need courage.
Is that the case of Nigeria
now?
now?
I think that's the case of Nigeria. We need a lot of courage. We need courage to kill corruption. We need courage to build an economy. We need courage to actually forge ahead where a lot of people think we cannot. And that's the courage we lack. You see people in government. The concept of governance is very simple. The concept of leadership is the same all over the place. Having the courage to tell your friends what you can tell your enemy, or do to your enemy what you do for your enemy what you can do for your friend. That's the concept. But here, once you belong to one political party, you are free. It happened in PDP. It's happening now in this government. We don't know what will happen in 2023 again. So if we lack courage as a people, God will continue to speak, but we will lack the capacity to actually receive what God is saying. It is sad. I'm a young man. It is sad that I've never known, I don't have the opportunity to know the good days of Nigeria.
The good old days that they talk about.
So it takes courage for me.
Here can
yes,
give you
it takes courage for me to come to the studio
days.
and still believe that Nigeria is going to work.
All right.
Because
okay, now, Dr. Kayode, the point there is that there has always, even right from independence, there's always this hope Nigerians have that tomorrow is going to be better, next year is going to be better. But every time you speak to Nigerians, after that 1 year, they always say last year was better than this year. If you speak to market women, you speak to anybody, they still tell you it was better last year, it was better last year. Why do we have that really?
So, if we have been having that kind of trajectory from years to come, do we now have cause to celebrate?
Well, Nigerians always have hope.
No, because somebody is saying we have cause to celebrate, while somebody is saying God's promises. Thank God is a pastor. There are people even in the Bible that God has promised one thing or the other, but because they refuse to position themselves the way they are supposed to, they couldn't get those promises. Now, the issue is, rather than having cause to celebrate, it's just cause to acknowledge. Acknowledge the time that we got independence from the Britons. Because what we experienced, what our forefathers experienced then, to fight for our independence is what we are still experiencing now. In those days, a clique few cliques held on to the mantle of leadership of Nigeria, and they were cutting away our resources, and they were dictating every other thing within the country. So also we are having now. The so-called leaders we have now, they are also very minute of the population, but we can also see their kind of hedonistic and Epicurean behavioral pattern, which can be likened to what happened during our colonial era. During the colonial era, you see people agitating. Okay, so also now, we're also seeing agitations.
So we're not broken from that cycle yet.
It's still the same thing. Right. The only thing is, we are now having our green, white, green flag, and not having that of the Union Jack. Do you understand? All that were happening then are even happening now on a larger scale.
Okay. Now, Dotun, let me come to you, Dotun. The point there is some of the leaders we have now, especially from the presidents we've had in the last few years, were people who were there on Independence Day, the 1st of October 1960. They were there raising the Nigerian flag. They were there singing and chanting the Nigerian anthem and all of that. So when it comes to understanding the Nigerian DNA, no one understands it better than them, or no one should understand it better than them, because they knew where Nigeria was meant to be and all of that. But here we are today. What do you feel when you look at leaders from 1999 until now that are supposed to, they are in the position to tell the younger ones, no, this is where we're meant to be and this is where we should go and so on?
You see, why were people happy on the 1st of October 1960? They were happy because of ownership. Because for the first time, they see that they are going to own their destiny and control the direction of their destiny. That was why they were happy and they were hopeful. So what do we need to learn from that? The only cure for Nigerian crisis, is not even whether you build road to my community. The cure is return power to the people. Let the people feel in charge. Let them understand the language of governance. You cannot be speaking the language of opulence and abundance in power and be telling the people to tighten their belt. There's a disconnect. What is language? If you look at the dictionary, it's a code of communication. But once you break language, people begin to suspect one another. That's what happened. It was a breakdown of communication that led to suspicion. That's why a Yoruba man is thinking an Hausa Fulani man is coming to take his land. Why? Because there's no ownership. Give an average man on the street ownership of let him have a feel that he has control over his government. The other time at Alausa, I wrote letter that I wanted to build a school, sir. A school. I wanted to build a school for my community. And they were not coming forward. By the time they came forward, they said, oh, I can't renovate that. I must build a school. When they were dragging me too much, I had to write to the governor by myself that this is what I want to do for my community. But should I surprise you? I got to the gate. They were asking for money just to trace my letter. So the people are totally disconnected from their government. Once we return power to the people, it's simple. Then they continue to have hope. See, we may continue to think that hope will sustain us. I told you a story before, that my father stopped us from listening to Ironyago 1 o'clock news. Because all we were hearing is, Adoloro Kobureke, there was bomb blast, and we thought then that that could not happen in Nigeria. We thought it could not happen, but now it's happening. So the elasticity of our hope is being overstretched. It's going to get to a point. Shebi is Showore, they are talking today. We don't know what will happen, but people are tired. There's a disconnect between our leaders and the people they are following. And that's why there's crisis.
Right. And even in a better frame, you see, when our fathers then took over the reign of power, there was a built-up culture which they were following. And that culture led to a kind of value system which was also controlling their activities. But when you look at it now, where is that political culture in Nigeria? Where no party is having an ideology, where nobody is looking at the needs and aspirations of the people. And to that extent, there is no value system again. Look at all our institutions, political institutions, where are they?
All right.
educational
So
institutions.
there's a fundamental need for us to go
Yes.
back to the
In
drawing
this-
board.
Yes.
In this,
And-
everyone is guilty,
All right.
including perhaps all of us on set.
okay.
There's a total capacity
Either,
collapse in the system that is very
acts
annoying.
of commission or omission and all
Yes.
of that.
Yeah.
It's okay. We have to leave it here now. Certainly, Nigeria will be celebrating independence
We'll be acknowledging.
in about 24 hours from now, and we wait to see some of the messages that will come up and what government plans to do. Dr. Dayo Kayode, thank you for coming on the program.
My pleasure.
Dr. John, thank you so much for coming on the
pleasure,
program.
sir.
You're dressed like Your Excellency this
Have
morning.
you?